Another question, this is one that has come up among conservative groups. We all know that the Freedom Caucus is widely known as a conservative group. There was debate among conservatives about the support of the Freedom Caucus for Paul Ryan as Speaker. So the question is that Jim Jordan and Mick Mulvaney, co-founders of the House Freedom Caucus, supported Paul Ryan as the new Speaker. Is the Freedom Caucus part of the problem or part of the solution? And I'll begin with Congressman Walker.
They are part of the solution. I consider Jim Jordan and Mick Mulvaney, they're two of the highest rated conservatives. Since Mark Meadows' name was brought up a little earlier, I'd like to say that he's endorsed me, as well as Mark Meadows and I have the identical conservative score ratings for Heritage Action. Very proud of that. But Mick Mulvaney and Jim Jordan are willing to fight the fight. They have been there several years in doing so, and the House Freedom Caucus, which we have an open invitation to, was a group that came out of the RSC, Republican Study Conference, after the RSC began to maybe compromise a little too much. There's about 35 or 40 guys, and I will tell you, they have your backs on standing up what is for liberty and what is for truth. They protect the Constitution, and I'm very proud. Mick Mulvaney just came into town with us just a few weeks ago to support us. There's a reason why the most conservative guys in Congress are supporting me. Not just those guys, but local sheriffs, conservative organization. I could sit here and name a litany of people that are rock-solid conservatives that you and I would know that would support me without hesitation. I'd like for you to ask yourself why on that.
And Mr. Hardin. I can repeat the question. Jim Jordan and Mick Mulvaney, co-founders of the House Freedom Caucus, supported Paul Ryan as the new Speaker. Is the Freedom Caucus part of the problem or part of the solution? Mr. Hardin.
Well, honestly, that's a good question. I would like to think that they're part of the solution. However, it doesn't seem like they stand. They were pretty intense on Daniel Webster, yet at the end of the day, we're still stuck with Paul Ryan. Mr. Walker here likes to refer to, Heritage, Freedom Works scores a lot, but he doesn't like to necessarily refer to the Conservative Review. Mark Meadows and Mark Walker's Conservative Review scores aren't anywhere close. And then GovTrack is another one I would say to look at. That's more of what goes on behind the scenes and not necessarily show votes. But the final question I would have for Mr. Walker is, because there's a question here, are you actually a member of the Freedom Caucus?
Is that his question for the evening? You said there's that's your, is that, can you make, I'll answer either way. I will, because he's probably got another one. I don't want to take his bonus question. So
you were mentioned in the answer, so I'll give you a minute for rebuttal.
I think he said the Freedom Caucus is not good or didn't do the right thing here. They supported Daniel Webster. Actually, they did not. If you go back early on, the first round, I supported Jason Chaffetz. The Freedom Caucus were split between Jason Chaffetz and Daniel Webster before Paul Ryan even ran. They got together, they met with Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan made several different, 4 or 5 different major promises to us. And here's the reason why I haven't joined, because to answer that, as a freshman member, I wanted to make sure the voting card that I carry in my pocket right now wasn't owned by the Freedom Caucus. And even though those guys will endorse me and support me, my voting card belongs to these people here. It belongs to the people that are working in Surrey County at Instill. They belong to the people that work in the Sheriff's Department in Alamance County. So as a bulk, my only problem was that their rule, I think, is 60%. I wanted to make sure that I always voted my conscience. Will I potentially join them? There's a possibility. I'm grateful that they've invited us to be part of that, but we want to make sure that we're doing best for people. And he did mention, if I could have just the 10 seconds, he mentioned some kind of GovTrack scoring. The scoring that he just talked about on GovTrack, they have Renee Elmers listed as the most conservative member of the North Carolina delegation. I think that gives you a bit on that.
Mr. Hardin, do you have a rebuttal?
Well, Mr. Walker, I do appreciate you answering the question. And the answer there is no, folks, in case you missed that. He is not a member of that caucus. So he thinks it's very important, and it's a leading light, so to speak, but he didn't bother to join. And as far as the GovTrack goes, it's independent. It's not biased at all. It takes a look at what goes on behind the scenes. They're nonpartisan, and they're not a PAC. There's no special interest there. It's a very telling number, and I would suggest that y'all go online and take a look at some of those stats.
I just
you were mentioned, so you go.
Yeah, just summarize it here. Why would you want me to join them if you just told the crowd they weren't that good?
Mr. Hardin?
Well, I was referring to what you said, not necessarily what I said. Well, first of all, there's something wrong with an organization in some capacities that there's a mystery list about who is and is not a member, at least known to the public. But with that being said, you were the one who talked about what a good job they did and how great they were. And if you were concerned about the voters in this congressional district, as far as not them, I think you would have listened to all of us and not voted for John Boehner.
So you agree with me that I shouldn't be in the Freedom Caucus? That's right, is that correct?
I agree you're difficult to deal with sometimes, like right now, but I don't necessarily agree with that.
I think we'll let that one settle where it is. I'd like to